Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
We were playing Riders at Argonauts 1999. We had a 2-hour walkthrough in pads the day before the game. Crashing heads at a damn walkthrough the day before the game in Toronto. And, of course, I'm the players, same age as the players. So there I'm out with them the night before the game, and they're telling me how mad they are at Cal that they made them practice for 2 hours in pads in a damn walkthrough at Sky Dome. And, of course, like me, I said it on the air. I think we were getting throttled by the Argos that day. That was the season we were 3-15. We're losing like 47-3 at halftime. And I'm like, I guess that 2-hour walkthrough really did a lot for the guys. We get back to Regina, and I get called into a meeting. I'm just tired of those meetings. Cal Murphy and Al Ford. And Cal Murphy, he had the neck that shook. He just did, okay? Everybody knows. And he's like, who told you that? Who told you? Who said that? Rashovich and who? And I said, I'm not telling you who told me. Thump! And he threw a chair at me that looked just like this. It looked just like this. Yeah. And it went right over my head. Thank God. See, boys? Thank God he was only 26 years of age. Or I was only 26. He was like 66. And I'm like, whew.
You had the agility.
Yeah. And then he get up and stormed out of the room. I wouldn't tell him. It was Rich Young, the linebacker. Wasn't even Raz. It wasn't even with Raz. And then Al Ford walks by and he's laughing. And he goes, ha, ha, ha. His bark's way worse than his bite. And I'm sitting there, this 25-year-old farm kid. What just happened? That doesn't happen in hockey. They mentally torture you in hockey. In football, they'll physically destroy you.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I'm sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone. I just died. And he goes, don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something? No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah! Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new week. It's a Tuesday, but as far as you're concerned, we're going to talk like it's Monday, episode number 1310 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Let's please bring in the Moose. I'm still at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. Believe it or not, this is the same facility, but I got this lovely pennant-covered wall behind me. Kind of has, in my mind, a real pardon the interruption feel to it, Darren. I don't know, but I'm still here in the Jaw. You're still there in Toronto. Are you ready to talk sports? Give me a quick update of what's new with you.
Yeah, I am. It was a great weekend, but coming out of the weekend, the rain is set in, so it's a perfect day to sit down and recap everything and look ahead. So I'm ready.
Awesome. We got Jessi Pierce coming up with us from NHL.com, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Jennifer and Graham Schetzel, the owners of the Sylvan Lake Goals baseball program in the Western Canadian Baseball League. We do it every Tuesday, the WCBL Round Up. They just set a record for wins in there's a volleyball camp going on, by the way, Darren, right now. That's why we've been moved off the court up here to the second floor, and there's balls pounding off the glass to my right, just so you know. So if I'm a little unsettled, we're at a sports facility talking sports. I'll survive. Can you hit the Quick Six show horn, please, direct it? I literally, it's a volleyball camp. Thump, thump, thump. So I just feel like I'm going to get one off the noggin here as we go along. Yeah, we'll survive. So point one of the Quick Six show topics. This is what we do if you're new to this program. We talk about the Quick Six show topics of importance to me. It's not Sports Center. It's the Rod Pedersen Show. Canada's men's basketball team is beginning knockout round play at the Paris Olympics today, taking on host France in the quarterfinals. They just begun. The French squad, which went 2-1 in group play, is led by Spurs' #1 overall pick Victor Wembanyama, who leads the team in points, rebounds, and assists. Meanwhile, American gymnast Simone Biles didn't get the golden send-off she hoped. Biles earned silver in the floor exercise finals on Monday after a routine that included a couple of costly steps out of bounds. But it was her Olympic 11th Olympic medal, as Dan Patrick said. Now he's my hero more than ever. He said she has reached Olympic emeritus. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds good. So before I get Darren's take on the Olympics, here's the poll question today. Are you still watching the Olympics? Because for me, it's a no, dog. It's a no for me, dog. Your options are yes, no, or never was. I started out watching it. I was a 7 out of 10 on the excitement scale, but between the soccer scandal of Team Canada, the Olympic ceremonies, the opening ceremonies thing, that whole cops have been brought in on that, investigating hate. Like, come on. Doping in the pool, the gender thing with the boxing, it's turned me off. And I understand you're going to go down this road and say, hey, Rod, but there's great stories too. Oh, I know. But I just got this gross feeling. So I flipped over to the NFL Network. I've been watching that around the clock, as many CFL games as I can. I was calling baseball games, a 4-game homestand. The Olympics, what's gone on's turned me off. I blame the media for it, not the athletes, but that's my Olympics rant. Off. Over to you.
Yeah, I get it too. Also, where you are, you want to watch things live. You got to be up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning to catch the Olympics live. By the time most people get up on the west side of the country, it's most of it's over, or a lot of it's over. But I'm definitely still in. I've got the basketball game on this morning, so kind of tuned into that. The 200 meters is going to end right away in the next few days. I think Wednesday, Thursday. It's winding down. I know the whole games is kind of in the second half and winding down. But for me, the events I watch are winding down a little bit too. So yeah, I'm still watching. Not as much as I was over the week.
It's funny, Darcy from Grand Prairie, Alberta writes in. He's watching on Game Plus TV. Very simply, 902-518-3033 is the number to reach us here. He writes in, no. Not still watching. So, hey, what I realized is I'm not 12 anymore. I used to sit in the summertime in the cool farmhouse basement and drink lemonade and watch all the Olympics. It was awesome. I'm not 10 anymore. There's other things going on, and it's a different time. Like this, moving on to point 2, players from the New York Giants and Detroit Lions got into several altercations during a joint practice on Monday, including one involving Giants quarterback Daniel Jones and another with Lions All-Pro receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. The practice is the first of 2 consecutive days of joint workouts and saw at least 2 players injured, both with the Lions. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh insists he has no reason to apologize. The ex-Michigan coach continues to deny having any knowledge of an impermissible scouting operation, spying, that triggered an NCAA investigation into his program last year. Michigan's expected to soon receive a notice of allegations from the NCAA related to the sign-stealing scheme. Did he not serve a 4-game suspension last year at the end of the regular season? Didn't that happen? Oh. So, NFL. For the most part, I'm excited. You can choose to look at the good or choose to look at the negative, and there's a whole lot of negative crap. The fights, Harbaugh, I blame the media. They all want to report the negative. On the flip side, Robert Saleh with the Jets, he's saying Aaron Rodgers looks like he never even missed any time last year. And that I believe. But here's the thing, Darren. I'm watching it all, and it feels good. And I watched some of the Hall of Fame induction on Saturday. I listened to some of the Hall of Fame. I was driving on the highway, and I was listening to NFL radio on my satellite. And it was Vic Carucci and Zeke Fracassi live from Canton, Ohio. And Hall of Fame week. I'm like, whoever's running Sirius XM radio knows what the hell they're doing, because this sounds great. So I'm into the NFL, baby. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, before the Olympics, I got up, watched a little Olympics this morning, but I wanted to flip over and watch a little Good Morning Football on the NFL Network. So I did that, you know, and I'm in there, as you said, live from Giants training camp now. A lot of the talk was about the first preseason game on the weekend between the Jets and the Commanders. Washington's young prized first-round pick, Jaden Daniels from LSU. He's, you know, a Heisman
He's going to play.
winner. He's going to get some meaningful snap. Yeah, and you know, we don't know if Rodgers is. It doesn't sound like it, but it's going to be fun. And now we're starting to get into this a little bit and get excited for the season. And where is Brandon Ayuk going to potentially land from the 49ers? So there's a lot of interesting storylines, and there's some good ones if you want the good news too.
Yeah, so that's what you're watching. That's what I'm watching. Everybody, make your birthday unforgettable at the Golden Ticket Sports Center here in Moose Jaw. Book your birthday party with us for a fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. Trust me, CFL fans and hockey fans have come here for talk of their leagues, and it's coming. But first, how about a little baseball? President Joe Biden will host the Texas Rangers at the White House on Thursday to recognize the 2023 World Series champs, their first championship title in franchise history. The Rangers defeated the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 5 of the World Series in November. Meanwhile, the Chicago White Sox lost their 21st straight game, tying the American League record with a 5-1 defeat to the Oakland Athletics as Max Sherman hit a tie-breaking 2-run single in the fourth. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles lost 21 in a row. They've tied it. The NL record since 1900 is held by the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies, who lost 23 straight. This has been snatched from the Associated Press and Canadian Press headlines. This is what they're talking about. Well, Biden welcoming the Rangers should be a positive story, but somehow somebody will spin it into he's old, he's crazy, he's senile, right? And then the White Sox losing 21 in a row is not positive. We could talk about the Blue Jays. That ain't either. So I will just say this. Western Canadian Baseball League playoffs begin this week. Go to my commentary at rodpeterson.com right now if you want to know my thoughts on that. Moose Jaw against Regina. I want Moose Jaw to win. Who do I cheer for? The team that's paying me. So those are my baseball notes. Do you have any before I move on to the Canadian Football League?
The White Sox thing, I mean, the one thing that's great is it's taken the heat off the Blue Jays around here, because even up in Canada and over here in Toronto, that's what I'm seeing too on my feeds and social timelines is this White Sox story. And, potentially looking at one of the worst seasons or the worst season in a century of baseball. So not great. Now we're kind of watching to see when will the losing streak end? How long will it continue? I'm sure they'd love it then, but that's fun. And yeah, these intercollegiate summer baseball leagues are all into playoff time, and that's definitely a lot of fun.
It's funny because in the Canadian Press Wire, they don't even mention the Blue Jays. They're so bad. They want to talk about something else. And I'll tell you a story before I get to the CFL. Here's what's great. The manager of the Okotoks Dogs is a former major leaguer by the name of Lou Pote. 6'3", 230, built like an evergreen tree. And I had occasion to chat with him, Darren. Did you watch Shameless, right? You watched it on Netflix, Shameless? I said to him at the All-Star game, I said, Lou, your bio says you're from Evergreen Park, Illinois. What's that all about? And he looked at me. Well, it's on the south side of Chicago, and if you made it out of there, you're doing something right. That's the way Lou talks. And I was like, whoa. You're a South Sider? I didn't know that was where Evergreen Park, Illinois is. He's like, you know it? I said, yeah, from the show Shameless. Is that an accurate depiction of life in South Chicago? He's like, dead on. My favorite show, Lou Pote. And I'll be seeing him next week, probably in Okotoks with the Dogs as they charge towards the WCBL championship. So that's pretty cool, eh? Just a chat that we had. The skipper of the Okotoks Dogs, Lou Pote, who played in the majors, by the way. Look it up. To the Canadian Football League, and again, we have notes as well on the NHL coming up. I got CFL Week 9 wrap and Trevor Harris. So we'll do this in the time we have left here in the opening segment. In Week 9, we discussed this on Friday. Week 9 kicked off on Thursday night with Winnipeg blowing out BC 25-0. Literally nobody had that coming, that score prediction. Friday night, Montreal beat Hamilton 33-16. Keeping in mind, I watched as much of this as I could, but I was also broadcasting baseball. I picked Montreal. Darren changed his pick to Hamilton the day of the game. Way to go, Moose. I had it right. Moose didn't. Montreal 33, Ticats 16. Saturday night at Mosaic Stadium, Clark's Rough Riders lost 42-31 to the Edmonton Elkamos. Trey Ford looked like Doug Flutie out there. Edmonton got their first win of the year, 42-31 at Sask. And then on Sunday, the Calgary Stampeders scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and pantsed the Toronto Argonauts 27-23 at McMahon Stadium. I picked Calgary to win. I got to go back. I have your picks here. Who'd you pick in that one, Darren? I
Calgary.
think you had Calgary, didn't
They
you?
saved us.
Yeah. You had that. Yeah, so I was 3-1. No, 2-2.
Yeah.
Because I had the Riders to win. You had the Elkamos to win. So we tied? Is that what it was, 2-2?
We were both 2-2.
I think we were, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, there you go. The Elkamos. What's your Week 9 wrap?
Yeah, that was, it was Trey Ford doing his thing. And, I saw the interview at halftime where the Riders, we need to shut down the run game. And they didn't in that second half. Javon Leake was really good. I think he had 169 yards total on the ground. And that was not even a lot of carries. I think it was 12 to 15 carries he had in the football game. They were good. And when the Riders came back and put some pressure on, that's when you saw some of the best of the Elks. They leaned on that run game, controlled the clock. That was pretty wild. Obviously, Calgary, the 21-point fourth quarter comeback to win was a bit of a shocker. And I learned, I should have known, tinkering with the picks. It burnt you early. Yeah. Called a stinker tinker, when you tinker with your lineup, a fantasy lineup, but the day of the games. But I did it, and I made a mistake. Will never happen again.
It's called stinking thinking. Well, that's not actually called stinking thinking. Stinking thinking is having your mind on negative things and in the wrong place, which I guess this would qualify as that. Trevor Harris was cleared to begin practicing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and did on Monday. I know you guys wanted to have this as a poll question. Should he start Thursday at Ottawa? But we could ask that question all week. Here is your schedule, by the way. I don't care about the haters. There's a lot of them out there. Here's the schedule again. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I love it. Thursday, Sask at Ottawa. Friday, Calgary at Toronto. Saturday, Hamilton at Montreal. Sunday, BC at Edmonton. From the audience, Tony in Cochrane writes in and he says, CEBL, the Calgary Surge beat the Edmonton Stingers to go to championship weekend in Montreal. Kudos to the Surge wearing retro Calgary 88s jerseys. Tony from Cochrane, you're the first guy ever that I can recall bring up on this show the CEBL as a fan. And I'm glad that you did. There's a few that have, but overall people I felt weren't really talking about it. I'm glad that you did because I watched the game Ottawa-Scarborough on TSN Friday night. Game Plus. Game Plus. It was on Game Plus. Rod, I think. We can never remember what channels this is on. It was Rod Black and Amy Audibert were calling it, and it was a hell of a game. Ottawa was leading. Oh, wait, that's the Niagara game. That was Sunday night. That's what I was watching, whatever network it was on. Niagara hadn't lost all year at home, and they were losing going into the fourth quarter, came back and won. And their owner, Richard Petko, close personal friend of mine now. So, yeah, I'm watching it. I didn't know anybody else was. How about that? Jeff, the Stamps fan, says it was said on the RPShow last week that the Stamps no longer had leadership. After that comeback, that's clearly bold. We didn't say they don't have leadership. We didn't say that. But you hear what you want to hear. John in Edmonton writes, and he says, the game was on TSN, not Game Plus. Well, it's like trying to remember TSN and Sportsnet have the Raptors games. I can't remember what channel it's on. It's the same announcers, but on different networks, right? They just play a merry-go-round and spin it. And clearly the CEBL is doing the same between Game Plus and TSN. At least we're mentioning both networks. We got a lot of hockey stuff to get to, more football, update the poll results. We'll be right back. This is the warm-up, and you are watching the Rod Pedersen Show on our television partner, Game Plus, across all of Canada and 31 U.S. states. Our radio partner is WQEE Atlanta, streaming on YouTube live daily, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastih.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, man, it's really going to get wild now. We're brought to you by Saskatoon's Battle for Recovery. Join award-winning recovery speakers like singer Shaylin Fox, podcaster Daniel Hearn, Dr. Wendy Gore-Hickman, and Hall of Fame broadcaster and sober coach Rod Pedersen at TCU Place in Saskatoon as we celebrate recovery and share experiences from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday, August 30th. For tickets, go to empowertorecover.com. That's the number 2, empowertorecover.com. Can we please bring the Moose back in? My guy Brent in Wellington, Florida's watching Moose. Where did it go? He says, Rod, you look like you're in my childhood room with all the throwback pennants behind you. For those that just tuned in, I am still live at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. It's formerly the Moose Jaw Curling Club, and to be honest, you think of the tankards, the Scotties they've had here. This place has the feels. And I'm up here on the second floor, Darren, and just good sports people here in Moose Jaw. But this Alouettes over my shoulder, that is vintage Tony Proudfoot. You got the Celtics over my back. You got the Moose Jaw Warriors and the Spokane Chiefs. Oddly, no Regina Pats pennant. And, Tony Proudfoot died of ALS. I love Tony. He was a longtime color commentator for the Alouettes. And I'm going to go take the off-ramp here to somewhat Storytown for a second. And I want your participation and all the audience too. I've been doing a lot of interviews lately in Florida, and they're saying, Rod, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? I'll be back after Labor Day weekend. But I did one last night with the South Florida Tribune, and we were talking about the Stanley Cup final and the Oilers and the Panthers and how the NHL Network has those two as the top-ranked seeds, futures favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year, Florida and Edmonton. And we were bringing up the 1940s, the 42 Leafs who, do you remember, came back from down 3-0. The 1945 Leafs blew a 3-0 lead and then had to hold on to win Game 7. My point is, there was Panthers fans who said to me, we don't care about anything that happened before 1970. I'm like, I feel like you reach a certain age where you realize there was life before you were born. There was life on this planet before you were squeezed out. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like if you don't care what happened before 1970 in any sport, then I don't think you should probably watch me. Because when I was a kid, I voraciously read all those books and history books and league stats. You know, like I don't, who says that?
You know, all our broadcast heroes and the games we watch, pregame shows and the magazine style shows and the magazines themselves, you know, they reference the past. They taught us the history of the game. As a kid, I watched shows like NHL Cool Shots or NHL Be a Player or, you know, Hockey Night in Canada or all these things. And they taught us the history of the game while using it to tell the stories of the hockey in that time, like for today. So I think it's an important piece. History is an important piece of the game, and I hope it doesn't get lost. I really do.
Yeah, well, it's what we do here. I mean, I'm not going to change, but I will say something about South Florida and Florida overall. There's a lot of the fan base that feels there was no NHL until their team showed up in 1993, which is fine, but I'm here to tell you that there was a league before that. And before I get to the comments here, or more comments, there was a show, a hockey show in Florida, which I don't view as our competition. I guess certain factions do. I feel we all work together growing the sport in Florida. That's what I think. But they did a top 5 fictional hockey player themed show because there ain't nothing else going on right now really to talk about. And they didn't even mention anybody from Slapshot. So, what? Top 5 fictional hockey player, and you don't have that? So, don't even mention Peter Puck, Dean Youngblood from the movie Youngblood, Ogie Oglethorpe. Serena and I agreed ours both would be Reg Dunlop. But theirs is the coach from the Mighty Ducks, Emilio Estevez, and the Tooth Fairy, The Rock. Stop. I don't know. We bring the historical perspective. Not everybody is going to. And I'm ready to move on. John Ohm writes in and he says, the Alouettes announced Caleb Evans' season is over. They signed quarterback Dominic Davis. Caleb, that's too bad, but he wasn't winning anyways. Sea Lightning writes in and he says, saw the highlight of the Canadian that won the gold medal in the Olympic hammer throw. Not a very big man. Congratulations. How the hell do those guys know when to let go of the hammer? How do they know? That's the fascinating thing about the Olympics for me. Which, by the way, the poll question is, are you still watching the Olympics? Yes, no, or I never was. Well, I look up the results. Can you answer that? How do they know, Moose? How do they know?
I was sitting here on this couch watching with Leanne, and she's a U Sports track. She was a track athlete, and she did the pentathlon. So I think discus was part of it, and you spin around on that too. And I said, look, like you get spinning around and that thing gets moving. I said, there's a 50-50 chance I'd hock it in the crowd. Like there just is. And she's like, that's why they got the cage up there, because it happens. Great coordination.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. You know, good coordination from him and great throw. He won it on his first one. And they said he's not going to reach his peak for another 4 years till the next Olympics or even the Olympics after that. So pretty cool that he's doing it at a young age.
Is pickleball in the Olympics?
Not yet.
I feel like it's going to have to be. 2028 in LA is going to be a lot more interesting. We're going to have flag football. We're going to have baseball. This morning I watched skateboarding. So I guess the poll is, are you still watching the Olympics? Yes, no, or never was. 57% said yes. 20% said no, they're not, and 23% say they never were watching the Olympics. This morning I put it on. I like to watch Sports Center in the morning and see what everybody's talking about, and it was live from Paris coverage. I haven't seen any table tennis at all, and that was the sport that I wanted to see. But I'm not going to, like Lou Brown in Major League, I'm too old to go dive it into lockers. I'm not going to look up when they're playing it and go and try and find it on TV. I just watch what's on. And for a large part, it's entertaining enough. So I guess I was wrong. I am still watching it. I'm just not invested anymore. Brent in Wellington, Florida says, you can't fix stupid, and that's just stupid. Does that mean we can forget the 72 Dolphins? They said nothing before 1970. Just declare nothing before 1970. Either way, no, we're going to talk about it. And I never understood why. When I first met Randy Moeller, and you know how close we've become, the color commentator for the Panthers for 29 seasons, he said, we can't have enough guys like you around here. I didn't know what he meant, but now I do. Hockey historian. It comes with age, and that's fine. John Ohm says, still watching the Olympics. He says, sports is all about the history and respect of the players past, which, by the way, Darren, I know you all are sitting here waiting for my hockey notes, and they're coming, and there's Rider fan questions too. But I want to say this. Clark, you never told me how good a guy baseball players are. Clark's a good guy, so I should have known. Clark's a baseball player. Clark played collegiately. He's still playing. I want to give you an example. Friday night, I had the tremendous honor of broadcasting Moose Jaw Weyburn in a meaningless game. Weyburn was going to miss the playoffs, but the second baseman for Weyburn, with his next hit, would become the Weyburn Beavers' all-time franchise leader in hits. Pretty big deal, right? And I just happened to be standing there when the coach for Weyburn told the public address announcer, James Gallo, be on the lookout for this because this is going to happen. In his second at-bat, he hit a single. Ryan Dauphiny is the guy's name. The pitcher was Weston Walls for us, Moose Jaw. He goes to college in San Antonio, Texas, at the University of Incarnate Word. He gave up that single, Darren. He turned on the mound and applauded like this. Got the guy. For getting the hit off him, I was like. And then we were talking about the rival set. Like, who does that? And I was talking about the Saskatoon Berries, Carter Beck being voted by the fans the most popular player. Fan favorite, most popular player. Carter Beck up in Saskatoon. I'm talking to one of our guys, Nate Mensick, our MVP, and he goes, I'm not surprised he won. He's a very exciting player to watch. I'm like, he's your competition guy. But that's these baseball guys. And listen, what I said to you before the show, I was going to bring this up. This does not happen in hockey and football. Don't tell me it does, because it doesn't. I've spent a lifetime in both. Connor McDavid wouldn't even come out and accept the Conn Smythe Trophy at the end of the Stanley Cup final because his team lost. You all know what was wrong, but you won't say it because it was Connor McDavid. I don't know what it is, if it's just this league or baseball people in general, but I'm looking back on every baseball guy that I've known now has been a pretty good guy. What took me so long? What do you think about that? Displays of sportsmanship.
It's really cool, and the greats do have that respect. And you can't show it all the time because you are in competition. But when something like that happens and you recognize it and you show respect for the game and for your opponent, I think that's, shows what kind of person you are. And that's a great thing to see, that the pitcher is so confident in himself and can just put himself aside and recognize a great moment, for your opposition. It's rare. It's rare, but it should be celebrated.
And by the way, he's 6'5", Weston Walls. And the next day, I was walking into the stadium with him, and I was like, Weston, I'm so proud of you, man. That was cool. And he was like, well, I didn't want to give it up. I wasn't trying to give him that hit. And then the next day, I was sitting, must have been Sunday, I was sitting on the infield before the game, and Weston walks, he's like, welcome to the field. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am kind of out of my element here, aren't I? I should get back up to my cage. But yeah, it's so much fun, and you can see that. Landon writes in, hang on. The Rider fan questions, I'm going to push that to next hour. for viewer takeover. I had a hockey note I wanted to get to here. The Colorado Avalanche announced that the organization has signed defenseman Oliver Kylington to a one-year contract for the upcoming season. Kylington appeared in 33 games for the Flames last year, recording 8 points. Kylington, who missed the entire 22-23 season and the first half of last season due to personal reasons, was named one of the 3 finalists for the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy for perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. He skated in his 200th career NHL game on April 16th at Vancouver. Read the comments at your own peril. I saw the announcement of Kylington leaving the Flames on all those Flames accounts that I follow, like Flames Nation and Barnburner and stuff, and they're all upset that he bolted. The team stood by him through these mental health issues that he had, and then he signed somewhere else this next chance he gets. What I will say on that is, just chill out. You don't know at all the circumstances of why he left. You have no idea. I don't really know. I've heard things. But if the guy wants to, don't get so damn butthurt when a player leaves. I know nobody's listening and will ever care, but I should have known, Darren. So the guy leaves. Like, how are you on this? I don't, to say get over it's like a waste of time. People, well, they'll never get over it.
Yeah, get over it. You know, it probably won't work, but try and understand. We don't know until we hear from him, you know, post after this signing. But maybe this is part of his journey and part of his mental health, you know, situation. And if you want to call it recovery or you want to call it healing or whatever, potentially a new place to play and a new place to live and all the rest could be part of it. We don't know what he is dealing with at the rink, away from the rink, personal life, all the rest. If this is what's best for him, it's unfortunate, but it's what's best for him. If Calgary was best for him, he'd find a way to stay there.
From that noted philosopher, Shrek, quoting him, "Change is good, donkey. Change is good." Moose, will see you in hour 2.
I'll see you then.
We're going to Minnesota after this break. We'll be right back. We're live on Game Plus Television. Of course, WQEE Radio, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. We're also streaming live on YouTube. And, of course, in podcast form, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The WCBL continued to grow this summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Daytime sports talk rolling at you here on Game Plus. CFL fans, join us for the second annual Labor Day Golf Classic at Aspen Links in Regina, hosted by the RPShow. It's your chance to golf with your choice of Rough Riders and Blue Bombers alumni. DM us for details. We'll get you hooked up. Jessi Pierce, I appreciate her spending the time with us on what should be a downtime, and it probably is for you, Jessi. So thank you for coming in from NHL.com, Bar Down Beauties podcast. Before we get to the Wild and just an update in the offseason, you know how many Vikings fans watch this show out here in the Canadian prairies? How much, well, obviously you're following the Vikings. What's your report on training camp here, like a week into it?
It's been fun. We're getting to see those glimpses of J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback selected in the first round by the Minnesota Vikings, the future quarterback of the Vikings. Right now, he is listed on the depth chart as number 2 behind Sam Darnold. But it's just nice. Football season is here, RP. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. People don't really get. So Sam Darnold started with the ones. He was taking first-team reps, and then they put in J.J. McCarthy late last week. I saw that, and people are, oh, he's taking over number 1. Well, maybe they want to see what McCarthy looks like with the ones. But obviously, the eyes are just on that position, and for good reason. What is the outlook, by the way? What's yours? What kind of season do you think this team going to have?
I think they'll be good. I mean, Justin Jefferson back from injury, right? The hope is that everything goes well there. And it depends on how Sam Darnold does in those opening weeks. You need a quarterback, guys. We just need a good quarterback. I loved what Flores did with the defense last year, so I think that's in a strong spot. But really, it's going to be that quarterback position, much like it was last year. I mean, the Vikings salvaged a season, obviously missing the playoffs, but still looked okay with no quarterback per se. So at least this year, they have a good game plan heading in, and I like what Kevin O'Connell's done with the squad thus far. So we're raring to go. Back in the playoffs, baby. That's the Skol way, if you will.
Ooh, I think so. I'm positive too. But when you say no quarterback, you're talking about Kirk Cousins going down with injury, I assume. Like what words, and you're a wordsmith, would you use to characterize the Kirk Cousins era in Mini?
Volatile, I think. Kirk Cousins here was either a love or hate situations. You were in one camp or the other. There really was no in between. And actually, statistically, Kirk Cousins performed very well. But Kirk Cousins also has never made it to the promised land. He's never led a team, the Vikings included, into a deep playoff run. So really, he hasn't achieved a heck of a whole lot. Good on him and his agent, though, for getting paid and going and finding that money, even despite the record and the lack of accolades maybe he has. But it was okay. I mean, Kirk did what he could do. He got the ball to JJ, which is, again, the most important thing to do here in Minnesota as of right now. I wasn't a big Kirk Cousins fan, so I'm okay with moving on to get different pastures, but he performed well. I mean, you can't say he didn't. Again, statistically, very good career here with the Vikings.
I know you weren't, and that's kind of why I asked. At least his bank account was an A+ in Mini. So we'll switch over to hockey now. And I don't know how you feel about odds and things. I read them. I don't put a whole lot of stock in them. But NHL Network has the Oilers and Panthers as the favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year. But your Wild, that team which you cover for NHL.com, they've got as a playoff team and plus 4,000 to win it all, along with the Red Wings and the Senators. Do you pay attention to these types of things? And what is your outlook for the Wild this year?
Yes and no. It's hard to not pay attention to it, right? But things change so quickly throughout the course of a season, as we so well know. I mean, the Oilers have been top for the past couple seasons, and that goes up and down for them, just as any season does. I think Minnesota will get back into the playoffs, although it's also because so many teams do make the playoffs in this format, right? They should get back in the playoffs. You still have a relatively easy division here in the Central. For Minnesota. St. Louis still kind of down and out. Chicago still kind of down and out. I mean, yes, you've got your Colorados, you've got Winnipeg, who's going to be very curious for me. I can't decide how I feel about the moves that they're making, but I certainly enjoy watching the Jets. But yeah, I think Minnesota will make the bounce back. The biggest difference between this year and last year, fingers crossed, knock on wood, any superstitious things that you might have, will be health, right? You were missing Jared Spurgeon for the majority of last year. You had Matt Zuccarello in and out of the lineup. You had Marcus Foligno, a lot of your key players, and even Kirill Kaprizov, rumored to have started the year injured, but playing through that injury, or guys like Freddie Gaudreau, similar situation. So I think obviously injuries, every team can use that as an excuse. But for Minnesota, that really was the Achilles heel last year, I think. So as long as they can stay healthy, there's no reason they can't make it back into the playoffs this year.
I will lastly ask you about coaching, because I felt like you had a lot of respect for Dean Evason and liked him a lot. And John Hines is the head coach now. And what do you say, Bill Guerin, winced at having to fire Dean Evason? He didn't want to do it, but felt he had to do it. So now it's the first full season under John Hines. How big of a change was that, or was the coaching change just a minimal bump spike for them last year, and that wasn't really the problem? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't coaching, and that's, my relationship and friendship aside with Dean Evason. I got to cover him the longest of any coaches since my time with NHL.com here. It was, they can't fire any of the players, right? That's exactly what Bill Guerin said. They were performing so poorly, but you can't get rid of the guys on the ice. You got to get rid of the guy on the bench, and I think Dean Evason knew that. Bill Guerin knew that, and even John Hines, as he came in, knew that. John Hines wasn't the quote-unquote sexy hire. He isn't this name. Again, we talked about that with Kirk Cousins. John Hines hasn't necessarily achieved a heck of a whole lot in postseason play himself, and obviously missing the playoffs with the Wild last year, another notch there. I am excited for this season, though, because it is a full season with John Hines. John Hines didn't really get to put his fingerprints on the Minnesota Wild until the latter end of last year, and in doing so, they went on a great stretch. I mean, Minnesota certainly made it interesting toward the end of the regular season, the kind of will they, won't they make the playoffs type of thing, and they continued to fight till the end. So I think the players really responded to John Hines well. I think going into training camp with that coach, that familiarity is going to be huge. There hasn't been a heck of a lot of movement, if any, really, on the Minnesota Wild roster. So it's a lot of those same players returning under Hines. I'm just excited to see the line combinations that he makes. That's the biggest difference. Dean Evason became very married to his lines, and John Hines wasn't afraid to shake things up, which I certainly can appreciate. So it'll be a good year. Again, I think this will be a big mark for John Hines to see what he can do with the team, given it's the final year of that salary cap buyout as well.
How do you think Dean Evason will do in Columbus?
I think he'll do well. Dean is a guy that he's a very players coach, and I think that's kind of what they need in Columbus right now in particular. I think Johnny Gaudreau is going to really sail underneath him. I'm excited to see that. We get to see him that game one, Minnesota, Columbus, back at it here in St. Paul. So that should be pretty fun. I'm just happy that he gets another opportunity at the NHL stage, because like I said, great guy. And as long as he doesn't beat up on the Wild too bad, should be a good continued relationship.
Yeah, he is a great guy. He is a great guy. Jessi, thanks for this. Enjoy the rest of the summer. I appreciate the time. Can't wait to chat again.
Always. We'll talk to you later.
Jessi Pierce from NHL.com. She covers the Minnesota Wild. And, of course, the Bar Down Beauties podcast. When we come back, a sports update, and then viewer takeover, whatever you want. And an hour or two, it'll be a complete free-for-all. All of what you want, and Moose and I will react. We'll be right back live here on the Game Plus TV network, Key Radio in Atlanta, streaming on YouTube Live daily, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the Snake Pit.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hope you're having a great Tuesday, everybody. First day of the week on the RP Show. Hope you had a safe, long weekend. It's episode number 1310 of your favorite daytime sport TV show, Canada's favorite. So to a couple of comments before I do a sports update. Landon writes in, he says, good morning, Rod. Is it panic time in Ryderville? 1 in 3 in the last 4 has me concerned. You know what it is, bro? It's whatever you want it to be. How about that? Yeah, that Rick Clark, Rick Regan? How about that? It's whatever you want it to be.
Let's go.
Riders losing 42-31 to Edmonton on Saturday night, and I listened to the call-in show, a portion of the call-in show after the game, and the coach is too active in the community. He's doing too many community appearances. It's distracting. Yeah, that's it. What are you going to do if and when they lose in Ottawa Thursday? If you're panicking now, what are you going to do Thursday? Red Blacks are favored by a point and a half Thursday night in Ottawa against Saskatchewan. We'll talk a lot about this next hour. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in regarding Florida Panthers fans telling me they don't care about anything to do with hockey before 1970, which, by the way, it's not all Panthers fans. It was just some that said that to me, and I don't know how to take that. Carlos in Indy writes in and he says, 1970 is where the modern era begins for a lot of sports. Why that's the date, I don't know. My guess, the advent of color television? Maybe. I don't know. For me, it began when they began. How about that? Allie checking in from Texarkana. We're going to use a lot of air quotes. The rest. Allie says, happy Tuesday, RP and squad. I'll get to as many of your comments as I can here the rest of this hour. Hang on. Computer issues. We're brought to you in part by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Now's the time you should be working on your shooting abilities. Stop in at OT Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, and book your lane today where skill and fun collide. The National Bank Open tennis tournaments get underway today in Toronto and Montreal. The women play in Toronto this year with 2019 champion Bianca Andreescu of Mississauga highlighting today's first round action. Veteran Milos Raonic of Thornhill is in action at the men's event in Montreal. The Toronto Blue Jays are back at Rogers Centre today to kick off a 3-game series with the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore enters the series tied with the Yankees for top spot in the American League East. It's the 8th straight game for Toronto against the division's elite. Jays went 2-5 on a recent roadie through Baltimore and New York. Championship weekend in the Canadian Elite Basketball League is all set. The Niagara River Lions, Calgary Surge, Vancouver Bandits, and Montreal Alliance have advanced to the Final Four. The Eastern and Western Finals will be played Friday at Verdun Auditorium in Montreal, with the winners advancing to the championship final on Sunday, August 11th. Dun, 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 dun. Defeat boring Sundays. Every Sunday, kids can get out of the house and score a movie ticket and snack pack for one great low price. Every movie, every Sunday. Landmark Cinema's Kids Day. Turn the average Sunday into a movie-filled fun day. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for show times. Some terms and conditions apply. Children must be 13 and under with valid ID. Valid for new movie releases only. Can you remember, please tell me, a movie you saw as a child that stuck with you to this day? Here in Moose Jaw, I saw at the theater downtown Annie as a child, and I remember it to this day. Daddy Warbucks, Annie, I remember it. And also The Bodyguard here in Moose Jaw as a child. What movies as a child do you remember to this day? And then later on, E.T. and Star Wars in Regina. Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in and he says, hockey before the 70s set the foundation for what is today. Panthers fans should take notice of what games sell out the most, right? The Bruins, the Blackhawks, the Rangers. From Jeremy in Winnipeg, he says the NFL Top 100 Players vote is back. I get the vote in November, but Mahomes 4, Hill 1, Lamar over Mahomes, wild guess, bulletin board material. Again, that's really all that it is, or as Brian Burke used to say, birdcage liner. Now with nobody reading newspapers anymore, I mean, they read them, but they don't buy them. What are they lining bird cages with? What are they putting in the bottom of bird cages with no newspapers anymore? That's what Brian Burke used to use. We'll sort it all out after this brief pause.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I'm sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hour two, I feel like should have a name. Free for all. What is that down here on this side? Oh, it's my backpack all the way over there. Yeah, we're still at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. Everybody's loving the banners on the wall. It's giving them a childhood bedroom feel. But we are at a professional sports facility. Let's please bring in the Moose. He's not. It's going to be fun here in hour two, Darren. Hey. Because it's a free-for-all, whatever the viewers want, and it's our Tuesday WCBL Round Up. As the playoffs start Wednesday, and we do it every Tuesday. We talk about the league. We have the owners of the Sylvan Lake Gulls coming in, Jennifer and Graham Schetzel, a little later on this hour to talk about the wild success of their franchise. We got CFL fans, got things they want to talk about, NHL fans. But what's interesting, Darren, somebody cracked the lid on the NFL Top 100. And people are going off on it. And if you don't mind, okay, a couple things here. Buffalo Bill writes in, he says, "Story time and viewer takeover. Awesome." Somebody writes in and says, "Trevor Harris for Saskatchewan." We'll talk about that. Tony from George Fox country writes in, he says, "I couldn't believe the NFL top 10 either, based on players' votes, but it's still whack." So we have a lot to get to. The Rough Rider, that's the account, writes in and says, "Trevor Harris," if you haven't talked about it already. Well, we have, but we'll come back around on it. But I'll just say the poll question is this today. Are you still watching the Olympics? Yes, no, or never was. Leading the way, Darren, 59% saying yes, they're still watching the Olympics. I'm not, because I got turned off by all the scandals and the negative hype from the negative media. Blame the media. There's good stories, but it's just turned me off. People want to, because when the Olympic circus packs up and leaves town, the NFL is still going to be going on. And these lists, Darren, as you know, mean nothing. You could line the bottom of your bird cage with the list. Doesn't mean anything, but it's got everybody talking. So the players voted on this. These are the top 10 players of the top 100. Here's the top 10, and the players voted on them themselves. Max Crosby, defensive end of the Las Vegas Raiders, is number 10. Number 9, Mr. Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce, tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs, number 9. Number 8, Pittsburgh Steelers outside linebacker T.J. Watt. Number 7, San Francisco 49ers offensive tackle Trent Williams. Number 6, defensive lineman of the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones. Number 5, defensive end of the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett. Number 4, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. Number 2, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, and voted the number 1 player in the NFL, Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill. And by the way, if you don't agree with these, go to a game. Watch them live. I have the great pleasure of watching Tyreek Hill live in Miami. The guy's been clocked at 21.5 miles an hour. The fastest I can run on a treadmill, and I'm fast, by the way. I'm very fast. I ran 15 mile an hour, and my shorts fell down at an Orange Theory Fitness in Boca Raton, Florida. No. 15 mile an hour, and my shorts fell down. Tyreek Hill goes 21.5 mile an hour. It does not. None of this surprises me, other than maybe Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. But whatever. Are you putting stock in this, Darren?
No, not overly. I mean, it's the player vote. It's not completely out to lunch. I know that, most football fans, we look at the offense and we have trouble, a lot of times deciding how good these defensive players are. But we look at stats like sacks and tackles and interceptions. But there's so much more that goes into it. So these defensive players are getting ranked pretty high because the players respect what they do. And the players know more than the fans do. I know some people think, Josh Allen at 12 is too low. Joe Burrow, I think, was 39th. But look, Joe Burrow's been injured. He hasn't played lately. They're going to earn it back on the field. And look, it's a big league with a lot of talented players. Being in the top 100 is a big deal, a really big deal. But you know what? It's fun to debate who should be higher, who should be lower, who should be here, who should be there. It's fun, and we can go back and forth on it all day. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the game.
It's all the machine of the National Football League, and I bow down to them because they just keep coming up with ways to stay in the news. They get it. And I'm going to tell you something. They're offering a piece of that, so we're going to take it. Yep. Give me some NFL talk. We could do 2 hours of it if we wanted to. By the way, I asked, because Sundays are Kids' Day at Landmark Cinemas. Kids go for free. Was there a movie? David, number 1 in Winnipeg, writes in. He says, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, for him, he saw it 7 times. As a child, what's a movie that you remember? Say pre the age of 10. What's one in the theater that you remember?
Oh, man. Ninja Turtle. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. That's probably the first movie I remember seeing as a young kid. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, and I saw this on Twitter the other day. They said, what's a movie that you remember walking out of the theater and it changed you? And for me, it was Boys in the Hood. And I watched it at the cinemas on Albert and Sass Drive. They're not, the Cornet, you weren't there. You weren't alive yet. I was like, ooh, because I was that little farm boy wearing Wrangler jeans and a brush popper shirt. You know what I mean? Small town Sask. I was like,
yeah.
Whoa. It just, my world was pretty small. This goes on? Yeah, it does. Okay, to what everybody else wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Say what? What's that?
Good question. It's a good question. What movie changed you? I remember, this is a weird one too. I remember going into the theater. I think my mom, my sister, my aunt, I don't know if my dad was there. And we watched the Titanic in the theater, 3.5 hours or whatever the Titanic. That's the first time I cried in a movie, and I'm a young boy. Like can't remember how old I was, but I'm like, why am I feeling so sad?
You're 10.
And I'm like,
it came out in 1997.
Right?
You were 10.
Yeah.
I'm a big movie guy, as you know. So I know the years on a lot of these classics, and that was one. So for those CFL fans that have come here to talk, let's be honest, it's the middle of summer, and CFL's halfway through their season. Saskatchewan losing the other night to Edmonton 42-31. Trey Ford looked like the second coming of Warren Moon. He really did. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, when Corey Mace was hired, that's Saskatchewan's rookie head coach, almost everyone said it was a great hire and they were destined to make the playoffs. I was hesitant to get too excited. Then they won 4 in a row. I'm kind of, when I sit here and say I don't listen to these lists, I don't really listen to Rider fans either. So I will, for the sake of this show, with the disclaimer that they are crazy. They're crazy. So, with that out of the way, because they're going nuts and they're talking about Corey Mace being fired, and here's the problem with him standing before all and sundry and saying, this one's on me, this one's on me. I will say this. His own players came out and said, no, coach, it was us. God bless you for doing that. But I'll just say this, because this is how I feel, and that's why people have tuned in. You take the responsibility, your bosses are going to let you take the responsibility, Corey, just so you know. Cody Fajardo said, put it on me. Even when he shouldn't have, and they didn't have to, they put it on him. When and then they got rid of Fajardo. When Craig Dickinson said, put it on me, I'm like, don't say that, because they will, and they did, and they fired him. So now here's Corey Mace, where they've lost 3 of 4. Put it on me. They will. Just, there ain't nobody above you going to say, we didn't give you the resources. We didn't give you the backup quarterback. We didn't. And because they can't win now without Trevor Harris, I'm sitting here wondering, who are they going to blame? Mark Mueller for not getting the next guy ready? Like, I don't know. So the season's turned, and you can set your watch by it. They weren't going to win every game, okay? They went 4-0. But you understand, Darren, because you lived in Saskatchewan long enough, they thought they were. The fans thought they were. You knew they were thinking that. And we also knew, those of us with a level head, we're going, it ain't gonna, there is always gonna be trouble somewhere along the line. There will be trouble, and how are you gonna handle it then? Which, incidentally, I'm still sure the Riders are fine. But there's a lot of people trying to manufacture controversy. It's just like Toronto with the Leafs. It's just like Dallas with the Cowboys. It's the same thing. I don't know why. It just is. And I see it now because I got out. And I look back from the inside, not just here, but what's going on in Toronto, what's going on with the Cowboys, because that's my team. Very difficult for the head coach to keep everything together. And that's why a lot of them lose their minds and go crazy. Because you got people, for whatever reason, they're good intention, Darren, they're good intention. But they cause a lot of problems by not letting the coach his team. You know what I mean? Not to mention, I still feel it's a dysfunctional organization. I still feel that, and not changing my mind. I've just not repeated it because I was just waiting for those days to come, and they're not fully here yet, but they will. I saw this coming up. I'm sorry to go on a monologue here and let you talk. You are the co-host, but I saw this. 3 Down Nation wrote a column on it. The Riders are the team that always loses to the winless team. The Riders are always the team that loses to the team that loses the games that they should win and wins the games they should lose. Yeah, 1990s. It's here. So the faces change, the quarterbacks change, the head coach. Nothing's going to change until there's change at the top. And I don't know why there hasn't been. I have no idea. But I had a football guy write me on the weekend and said, oh, boy, Jeremy O'Day is going to be in trouble if they lose. I said, no, he's not. He finagled himself a multi-year contract. I have no idea how, but damn, that is some salesmanship, man. So he's fine. So what are they worried about? Over to you.
The one thing to remember for the Rider fans that are panicking, losing, 3 of 4 now, they're still one of only 4 teams in the league that are above 500. And if Trevor Harris is coming back, they might get back on track because, Trevor Harris is a great quarterback, and this team looks different with him at quarterback. But if he doesn't stay healthy, they may be in some trouble down the stretch because, we sit here and say Winnipeg's not going to continue to be this bad. Calgary's playing better. BC's doing their thing. And even Edmonton picking up a win may start to they're a long ways from putting pressure on Saskatchewan. But at some point they might. So there is that. But, yeah, it's a big pivotal kind of 2-3 weeks here for the Riders. If they can get Trevor Harris back and if he can stay healthy, it almost feels like the season might hinge on that.
If they lose in Ottawa Thursday, which the coach is saying it's 50-50 that Trevor Harris starts, I'm not even leaving the house. Nope. Friday, Calgary, Toronto. Saturday, Hamilton at Montreal. And Sunday, BC at Edmonton. What are you looking at, Darren? Are you watching TV?
No, I got distracted.
Is the basketball game on?
I got distracted by the basketball game.
Who's winning? Who's winning?
Oh, it's not close. France is beating the pants off Canada, and it is not good for Canada.
Okay. David in Winnipeg writes in, he says, good afternoon, Rod and Moose. With the Bombers drawing 31,500 and a 2-6 record, and the Riders getting 29,600 at 5-2 at the time, what thoughts do you have on the crowd numbers so far? I don't have any thoughts on the crowds anymore. I don't care about the business. I care about what's going on in the games, and that's it. I don't care about the business of it. Good for them. That's awesome. That's what I think. BW in Edmonton writes in and says, good morning. The Sylvan Lake Gulls have a beautiful stadium, perfect place along the David Thompson Highway. It's only 20 minutes from my home. I just work too damn much to go to the games. Well, here's where I figured it out. Work in the sports, and you get to go to the sports. And then you never work a day in your life. It's the best. I know you're a trucker, BW. I know you can't do that, but that's why I'm so darn grateful every single day of my life that this is my job. My dad taught me that. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. He was a farmer and a hockey scout. Loved his life. Ryan in upstate New York says, the first movie my family and I saw after we moved to New York when I was 7 was The Goonies. That was a good one. Gizmo was in that one, right? Darren wouldn't know, but Gizmo, that's where Gizmo Williams got his name. He looked like Gizmo in The Goonies. I'm not sure that's a compliment, but he looked like Gizmo, and that's why they call him Giz. Brent in Wellington says, you're a young buck, Moose. You haven't met my guy, Brent, from Wellington, Florida yet, have you? Which is odd, Darren.
No, not yet.
That you haven't. He's the guy that's from here. He says, I'm going with Rocky on New Year's Eve at the Cornet. Oh, I went with my cousin Chad to so many of those movies. I'm going to go out and be seeing his mom on the weekend, Aunt Florence. But we went to the Great Outdoors together. Oh, my God, did we laugh. In the theater, John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. We went to that one together. We did everything together, me and my cousin Chad. Forget about the Johnner brothers and my brother and me. How about my cousin and me? Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That makes me feel old. I think I was an adult when that came out. I like this. The Rough Rider writes that he says, it's only 3 losses. We're fine. The Barflies. He says, Coach RP, calling someone crazy is always a great decision. Number 1, I'm a mental health coach, so it's just words. Mental health professional, so I can do it. You can't. And I'm also born and raised here. And they also know I'm right. That's the trifecta. That's 3 things. Do you want to leave and watch a basketball game, Darren? I'm teasing you.
I'd love it. No,
Carlos in Indianapolis says there's still plenty of football left to be played. It's only August. Yeah, but as we pointed out, the season is half over for teams like Winnipeg. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, hey, Rod, Shea Pedersen has done okay with 2 and 3 in 5 games for a backup quarterback. You can't ask for more. Sure. Yeah, sure. Allie in Texarkana says, Gremlins is a Christmas movie. Is that the movie Giz was in? Do you know, Darren?
I don't. You said Goonies.
Sorry,
right?
what movie was Gizmo in?
Gremlin.
Maybe it was Gremlins. Well, let me go to the big board. What movie? It was Gremlin. Clark is Google today. Who needs John Lynch? We got Clark.
Bingo!
He says it's from the Gremlins.
Awesome.
Okay. NFL, CFL, NHL, and Olympics, whatever else you'd like to talk about. And coming up later on, the owners of the Sylvan Lake Goals baseball franchise, Jennifer and Graham Schessel, here on our WCBL Round Up. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men Without Hats. And Spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing's Speakers Bureau. Contact them at emjmarketing.com. If we can please bring the Moose in. I don't know why this is popping in my head to mention it, but, well, they represent me in my speaking and guys like Stu Grimson and Jim Barker and Darren. And I will be hosting Theron Fleury's Breaking Free Foundation Golf Classic in Calgary, August 15th. And just this morning, I got a call from a guy in Calgary who said, hey, who do I talk to get into that? I'd like to golf on that. Sounds like a great cause. All proceeds from the golf tournament go to Breaking Free Foundation. It provides free counseling for victims of trauma and abuse. And the waiting list to get the free counseling is 2 years long. You heard me right. 2 years long. So if we can get more money into the coffers, pays more counselors, more people get help for free to them. So I guess DM me, and then I'll just direct you to Colin Pedersen, the former Flames Stanley Cup champion from the Breaking Free Foundation. So I don't know why that popped into my head, but here's one for you, Darren. Last year, when I left that golf classic in Calgary at the Winston, which is where it is again this year, I said to Theo and Patter, I said, let's get some media. Let's get you guys on to talk about it. And Theo was like, no, we don't need that. He goes, last year we did an interview on QR77 Calgary, and we got like 300 calls, and we couldn't accommodate everybody. We got a 2-year wait list as it is. We don't need the pub. We need the money. And I was like, wow. Isn't that interesting? I get it, man. But who would have thought? Who literally would have thought? Okay, and to the movies. What movie do you first really remember that really affected you? Not just that you remember. For me, it was Annie here in Moose Jaw. Went with my mom. It was great. And Darren's was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Chad in Lethbridge writes in and he says, movies as a kid, The Little Rascals. And he says, excited to see the first round of the WCBL playoffs. Go Bulls. Go Miller Express. That's right. I can't believe the crowds that we had all weekend when the playoff picture was already sewn up. Have you seen photos from the stadiums? Every stadium was packed. Everyone. I don't know what's going on. It's great. And last one, Darren. Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, as an 11-year-old in 1975, Jaws scared the heck out of me in a Mimico movie theater. Where's Mimico, Darren? Is that a place? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, so absolutely. Where I am in Mississauga, it'll go Etobicoke, I think Mimico, then the exhibition area, and then downtown Toronto. So it's along the water between Mississauga and downtown Toronto.
You're just Mr. Johnny Toronto now, aren't you?
I get it figured out.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you are. We got it all figured out between the two of us. Kirk goes on, speaking of Toronto, Kirk says, what an epic Argonauts collapse. I watched it from a bar in Niagara Falls. Coaches and players should feel ashamed of this debacle. Bring back Rashid Bailey. For those interested, Week 9 in the CFL was this. We'll put a wrap on it here today. Winnipeg blew out BC 25-0. Montreal spanked Hamilton 33-16. Edmonton knocked off Sask 42-31. And Calgary scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and came back and beat Toronto 27-23. Now, let's be honest. Our viewers are in all these regions. But on my social media feeds, I do the rodpeterson.com. Obviously, I put it on Facebook. I said this was an upset. Edmonton over Sask, 42-31. Do you see why I say I don't listen to these people? It wasn't an upset. They were 0-7. Yes, it was an upset. Right? Right?
Of course.
I don't need backup. Of course. It wasn't an upset. They were due for a loss. Shut up. Literally, shut up. You crapped yourself. Wasn't an upset. Listen to yourselves. What do you think's going to happen in Ottawa Thursday? And to be honest, Clark wanted this as a trivia or a poll question, so we can do it as a secondary poll question today. Should Trevor Harris start? He's missed the past several weeks, but he is back practicing at 37 years of age. He should play if he's healthy. I mean, they'll play the quarterback that should give him the best chance to win, but they're going against an Ottawa team that is off to their best start in franchise history, man. This is no gimme on Thursday night.
It's not, and it's really nice to see Bob Dice having this kind of success with Ottawa. And they're not lighting up any statistical categories. They're not, among the offensive leaders or racking up the turnovers. They're just playing solid football at the right time, right? And getting some good coaching. Special teams has been pretty good. Defense has been pretty good. And when Drew Brown gets going more consistently, he's had some really great flashes. They're going to be a really good team. I think you play the guy who's healthy. If Trevor Harris is healthy, you want to get him back in as soon as you can. And if he's good to go, I think he's got to play because he gives the Riders the best chance to win.
Well, there you go. And even still, they might not win. Ottawa's favored by 1.5 points. Poll question, are you still watching the Olympics? 54% says yes. 20% says no. 26% say never was. Regarding the movies you watched as a kid, people, the first one that you remember in the theater, Allie in Texarkana says, I had a dog named Gizmo. He was my special baby. I saw, I'm not going to ask this question today, but I saw a thing on social media going around. What's the best dog name you ever heard? And my cousin Christine, you know, the one that used to write into this show, and she, she's a big fan of this show. Her dog's name was Medano because of my dad. But the other night, get this one. The voice of the Weyburn Beavers, John Prett, was here with his lovely wife. We in the WCBL, we don't broadcast road games. Some broadcasters do go on the road, and John's one. So he's sitting behind the backstop here the other night at Ross Wells Park. Got a little Yorkie with him. And his wife's there. You've heard me tell you stories about Fergus, my little Yorkie. That dog was the greatest dog in the history of dogs. And he used to do tricks. And I'll tell you something. I took him into Taylor Field 1999. We got him in 97. Went up to Edmonton. Got him in 97. Yorkie, 5-pound, or Fergus, a 5-pound Yorkie. And he would do these tricks. And I remember, well, one time I had the whole rider team in the locker room. Cal Murphy brought me in for the dogs to do tricks. Okay, Fergus. And he goes, Steve Sarkisian was our quarterback, and he goes, that's what you call a slow death. Took him forever, Fergus. The current coach of the Texas Longhorns. These are my friends. Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in, he says, I'm fine with the Riders winning ugly. I just don't like the look of a team that loses ugly. He says, I just want to see effort. Jeremy in Winnipeg says, are guys buying into the Mace culture, or is it the same old Riders? Jeff the Stamps fan says, Trevor Harris, he's 38 years old, never kissed the cup. Circumstance more than anything. Oh, was it tragically hit? I wouldn't know. I only like two kinds of music, country and Western. John says Rod's rant. It was an upset.
How about that?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. You guys are making me lose my mind. This is what made me crazy. These people. Tony from George Fox country. He says, The Exorcist, it scared the bejeepers out of me. Oh, what's the scariest movie you ever saw in the theater? I was at Mount Royal College, Calgary, 1990. We went to the Silence of the Lambs in the theater on, it's not even there anymore, McLeod Trail South. Scariest movie I ever saw live. We've all seen it, right? Hannibal Lecter. Like a guy 10 seats down accidentally kicked the seat in front of him right in the middle of the scene where everybody's looking like, ah! Ho, ho, ho! Mark Knight writes in and he says, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1970. I'm old. That's cool. It's all good. Allie in Texarkana says, I currently have a dog named Turco after Marty Turco. All right, here we go on the pets' names, and that's fine. BW in Edmonton says, I miss Cousin Christine and her love of the Raptors. Oh, I know, right? I know. Couple minutes left before I let you go, and we bring in Jennifer and Graham Schetzel of the Sylvan Lake Gulls. What do you got, Darren? I'll give you the I've been doing a lot of ranting today. Why don't you rant for a while?
Well, not a lot to rant about, really. Kind of keeping in the commercial breaks now more than anything, one eye on this basketball game. Canada's back in a little bit of better shape, but down by 10 late in the third quarter. They were down by 16 at the half, but not good for Canada, who's expected it's a quarterfinal. They're expected, and everybody's excited to see Canada play the USA, all these NBA stars in the gold medal game. But Canada might not get there if they don't pick their act up in the fourth quarter. And so that's really interesting. And on the Trevor Harris never kissed the cup, wasn't he supposed to start for Ottawa in the Grey Cup? And then Henry Burris came out of the tunnel and ended up starting. And did he not win that game for Ottawa?
Henry played the whole game.
Yeah, but what Trevor Harris was on the roster, right?
I don't know, man. He's making a tragically hip reference.
I know.
I
know, but that's my point. That's what it made me think of, because I remember that was pretty epic for Henry Burris. He came out and ended up starting the game and ended up winning it for him, and it was pretty awesome. It was like the pregame intros when we found out that Henry was actually going to start that.
Yeah, I just went to the big board. Here's the thing about the CFL. If you have a ring as a backup quarterback, it doesn't count. And I'm totally fine with that. Yeah, he was on the 2016 Ottawa Redblacks who won, but he didn't start and he didn't win it. So you had, I'm not saying this is right in any way, shape, or form, but the way people look at it is you have as much right to that ring as the equipment manager or the broadcaster, whoever gets rings, but you didn't start and you didn't play in the game. So he's got a ring, but not as a starter. As far as people are concerned
like
in football, it doesn't count. Exactly. Okay, Moose, now we're done. Thanks for that. Enjoy the Olympics.
See ya.
We're going to beautiful Sylvan Lake right after this. We're live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, our radio partner, streaming on YouTube daily as always, and of course in podcast form, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, CFL fans, join us for the second annual Labor Day Golf Classic at Aspen Links in Regina, hosted by the RPShow. It's your chance to golf with your choice of Rough Riders and Blue Bombers alumni. DM us for details. Just a couple of weeks away now. It's going to be big fun. The Western Canadian Baseball League playoffs begin on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. Please welcome Graham Schetzel, and I think he's got Jennifer with him too, the owners of the Sylvan Lake Gulls. No, it's just Graham at the beautiful ballpark I've been hearing so much about. And they got Brooks tomorrow. We've got over here Moose Jaw taking on Regina, Saskatoon, Medicine Hat. And the other semis on that side, and Lethbridge, Okotoks on the other. Graham, welcome to the RP Show. How you doing, sir?
Yeah. Good. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay, Rod?
I can hear you 100%, okay? And you look good. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I hope you can hear us. I'm guessing Joe Whitbread set you up with all this. I want to say, Graham, congratulations on an historic season with the Gulls, man. Most wins ever, selling out every game. How does it feel? How does it feel?
It feels good, although today has a bit of a, last night it felt really good, but today has more of a back to work kind of feel because we're not done. We all sort of agreed last night that, hey, let's celebrate 44 wins. It is a big deal, but we have our eye on the bigger prize. We want to have a long playoff run, so it's kind of back to work today, but yeah, it feels good so far.
I love chatting with the owners because it's been very interesting, just trying to figure out your why, and if we have time, what makes you tick. But what got you guys involved with baseball there in beautiful central Alberta and with the Gulls and just making and having it come to fruition? It feels like, Graham, if you build it, it will come Kevin Costner scenario. Am I right?
I guess you could look at that today and the average, to the naked eye, it certainly looks kind of that easy, but it's taken a lot of work and effort and time to get to this point. It feels like to a lot of people it just popped up out of the prairie and we got this ballpark, but there was a lot of 2-3 years of slugging through the mud during COVID, construction, engineering, plan, all that stuff. I guess the why is, well, first of all, we're passionate about the game. Both Jen, and my apologies that Jen couldn't make it, she had other obligations, but we were involved in youth sports for our kids and ourselves our entire lives. So now we're empty nesters. We had sold out of our previous business, so it was kind of what's next for us. And then the timing, the stars just aligned just right to enter the league. And once we found out the development that Sylvan Lake, the municipality, had going on here out at Pagano Park was happening, the discussions started happening with them, and we could see it was a perfect fit. The Red Deer market had no team at the time, so obviously, a niche that we felt could be filled if we did it properly.
Well, I'm not sure if you know, I am the voice of the Moose Jaw Miller Express. So I talked to our players and I said, what's your favorite road ballpark? And the majority say Sylvan. What's special about that? Because there are some great ones. So what's special about that one?
Well, first of all, you're right. There are some great ones. So we love our ballpark, but I also love many of the other parks in this league. This is obviously a lot. It's designed a little more modern than many of the other ballparks, kind of with the intimacy factor in mind. So you're really, even on a night when we may have a lighter crowd, it always feels full. There's always an energetic vibe, and that's credit to the way the ballpark was designed. We're all pretty tight, and on a playoff night, when we do get 2,000 people in here, it's shoulder to shoulder, and it's really fun. It's just a positive vibe, and it's quite honestly, it's a social night out. There's little groups of people hanging out, having a good time, watching the baseball game, and the facility just kind of lends itself to that experience.
What do you like about your team? And I say this with a bit of a twinkle in my eye. 44 wins. They're very talented. I'll say this. They're a little cocky. We had to brush up our brouhaha when they were through here. They got swagger. Let's say that. The Gulls have swagger. Am I right?
I think probably that's fair to say. But I also think it's fair to say that any team that's going to, win, any team that's good has to have a little bit of swagger. I feel like we want to be first class on and off the field. So of course we always want to keep that in mind. But what I like about our team, I guess, is probably I like our pitching staff. I like our lineup. We're deep, all that stuff. but there really is a never quit attitude. We've had a lot of games here. We've been behind in just about every game the last week and a half, it feels like. But we're never out of a ball game. The other team's got to get us out 27 times, and our guys understand that, and they make you battle for all 27 of them.
Yeah. Well, and hey, I don't want to start something. I'll say they're good, and they know it, right? This is just a competitive thing that I'm saying. Yeah, no, they've represented the town and the franchise tremendously here. There's no doubt about that. So the guys from the league wanted me to ask you about Goals Give. What can you tell me about that initiative?
Well, and I really wish Jen were here for that to talk on that point, but I guess I'm on the board as well, and her and I are both very actively involved in it. We, from day one, we knew that being part of the community was key. We're very small town people, so we understand the importance of being part of a community and giving back. And if organizations like us and credit also to the business community and the sponsors that we have, because they're right there with us. If we don't give back to some of these initiatives, then who the heck is, right? So it's another part of our organization that takes time, it takes work, but it's been very rewarding.
Well, it's making change in the mental health field, which is another one that I work in as a mental health professional. What can you tell us? What I know is people don't usually do an effort like that unless they have a connect. Can I ask you why it's important to you?
Well, I guess like anybody, you always know people who are, you tend to want to help the things that have affected your life personally, and that's affected Jen's life, really closely. So she has a really keen awareness of it. That was her mandate. At the very beginning, we had the discussion, okay, we're going to sell 50/50s, we're going to have a golf tournament, and we're hopefully going to raise this money, but, why and where does that money go? And she was very adamant that it's important to her, it's important to me, that's where the money goes. We are a firm believer in, helping the vulnerable people. We don't really want to, we don't want to channel any extra help to the people that don't need it. So that's a real keen focus of the organization.
Well, good for you. There's a vast amount of people that do, as you know. Last week we had the president of the league on, Kevin Kwame at Lethbridge. This must have reached your ears. He said that there's been expansion interest. Airdrie, Grand Prairie, Lloydminster, and as far away as Brandon. People are looking at Sylvan going, well, look what Sylvan did. You guys, the gold standard, along with Okotoks, of what could be done. What did you think when you heard, or maybe you already knew what Mr. Kwame said?
I encourage, people are probably going to look at what we've done, but long before we came along, you mentioned it, we looked at Okotoks first. To me, they're the gold standard. They're the ones that paved the way for this in the entire country, honestly. They're a role model. They're a tough act to follow. But you can learn a lot from an organization like that and their successes and some of their failures too. They were more than happy to share that information with us as we were building this and as we still build it. So kudos to them. They were really like I say, they paved the way. My thoughts on new franchises, I would say, if you can get the municipality on board to be partners, I'm not saying they need to pay for everything, but they need to be partners. Know your market, know the people, and focus on the baseball and the non-baseball. You can do it, but it also takes people. It takes good people to do this. So, and it's a lot of work. I would caution anybody that wants to just think they're going to throw up a franchise in any market and run it on bare bones. It's not going to happen. You need quality people, just like any other business.
But you can also attest that it's worth it. It's worth it when it comes to fruition, right?
Absolutely. Every night, every home game night, we sit upstairs here and we watch the people drive in and we kind of look at each other, Jen and I do, and say, we're still in a bit of disbelief. The support we've got received from the entire Central Alberta region is just, it's been mind blowing, honestly, and and we only expect to keep growing it, quite honestly.
Well, as we say, you build it. If you build it, they'll come. They're coming. And I want to say congratulations on all you've done. The gold standard from the guys I talked to, Graham. So I hope to see you in the league final. Moose Jaw Sylvan, let's make it happen. And thanks for the time today, man. Good luck in the playoffs.
You're welcome, Rod. Thanks for having me. Thanks for spotlighting our league a little bit here recently. I've been watching the shows, and it's awesome. And yes, we would love to come to Moose Jaw in about 2 weeks.
That'd be great. Oh, it's been my pleasure. I've loved it, man. It's been the best summer. Graham Schetzel, the owner of the Sylvan Lake Gulls, in our weekly WCBL Round Up. I'll tell you why I said what I said when we come back. Plus a Dolphins story that relates, and a sports update and viewer takeover right after this, live on the Game Plus television network. Of course, Key Radio, WQEE 99.1 FM, streaming live on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
The WCBL continued to grow this summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the state fair.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Overtime is here, and of course, it's as always brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Looking forward to seeing you, Randy, and hopefully Michelle too next week at the Theron Fleury Breaking Free Foundation Golf Classic, which, by the way, we're still taking entries. I fielded one this morning from a sports guy in Calgary. It's for the Breaking Free Foundation. It provides free counseling for trauma and abuse victims, and all proceeds from the golf tournament go to that. I guess DM me if you'd like to golf with us at the Winston next Thursday, August the 15th. I just got to hang on for a second. I'll get to the comments here. By the way, Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Hopefully they can stop by their joint too next week. But just with the goals, it was a simple thing. They were here for a 2-game set earlier on this season. I think it was late June. And one of the guys, I can't remember which one, I'd have to check my score sheet, but he hit a home run for the goals when he was coming around third. Imagine this, Clark. He looked over at the Miller Express's dugout and gave a like this, waved at him like, well, everybody went nuts. Guys came out of the dugout. He shouldn't have said what he said, Clark. You don't do that.
How about that?
But, and it just... They set a league record for wins, 44 wins. And it reminds me of a friend of mine that I was talking to last week who played 3 seasons with the Dolphins. And I said to him, he played with Marino. And I said, all I've heard from my Florida friends is how cocky Dan Marino is. Like, Dan, cocky, arrogant jerk. And my friend, you might know who he is by my imitation, but he's like, well, he's the quarterback. He's good and he knows it. That rubs people the wrong way. Good point. He might be the nicest guy. He's good and he knows it. Does that make him cocky? Not necessarily. The Silver Lake Gulls are good and they know it. And let's see what happens in the playoff. Brendan writes in and he says, I'd love to see the WCBL work in a place like Sylvan Lake. I'd love to see the WCBL work in a place like Sylvan Lake. A great story of where sport and community meet. This is why you invest in sports and recreation infrastructure. Say it louder for the people in the back. Allie in Texarkana says, man, that was a fast 2 hours. Great show as always. Thank you, Allie. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, oh, hey, look at all those old pendants. Cool. You just noticed? We've been on the air for 2 hours. Here's the thing about Moose Jaw. These have been here since they were new. It's like the whole city. That's it. Retro is in now, but these weren't just put up because they've been here since they were new. I don't know what you call that, but that's what it is. This whole town, I'm spellbound by spending the summer here. It's gone better than I thought, and I anticipated it was going to be a great summer. It's been better than I thought. Tourism is rocking. It's a great place. Thank you, John in Edmonton, for the news. He says, Rod, Canada lost this morning against France in Olympic basketball. Wah, wah, wah. You got a sound effect for that, Clark? Canada lost. There you go. Why am I laughing? Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, LOL, I was more listening than watching. Okay, either way, I get you. Brent in Florida says, I hope you enjoyed the day off yesterday. Thanks for the hockey talk. I got my fix. Well, Brent, you should go. I can send you the link if you want. If you saw our South Florida Tribune podcast we did last night, the Fire Up Florida project. 30 solid minutes on NHL hockey. If you want, I can send it to you. For those that are just dying for hockey, it was with some real pros. Not me. George Eichhorn, formerly the host of the Sports Exchange in Detroit. And the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth. The three of us got together and talked NHL hockey last night on the South Florida Tribune podcast. I'm going to tell you, it was big fun. Arlen Bruce, the third, says, great show, RP. Thank you, AB. A lot of CFL talk. There will be more as the week moves along. Here's breaking news today. Charles Barkley intends to remain with TNT Sports through the remainder of his contract. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing the announcement he made in June during the NBA Finals. Thanks, Chuck. Again, what do I say? Don't ever take anything, don't put any stock in anything anybody says at the end of a season. Don't, because they're tired and they're worn out and they're frustrated and they're cranky. And it takes a couple weeks for them to decompress, maybe a month. And they're like, oh, did I say I was going to retire? And the Montreal Alouettes signed veteran American quarterback Dominic Davis today. That's because veteran quarterback Caleb Evans saw his season end with their 33-16 road win at Hamilton on Friday. We're brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Every Monday is Seniors Day at Landmark Cinemas. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. Seniors enjoy 20% off the posted seniors admission price, and to sweeten the deal, receive 20% off their concession purchase too. So make Mondays your movie day, because a great deal never gets old. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes and pricing. Big thank you to Graham Schetzel. That was fun, wasn't it? The Sylvan Lake Gulls owner. You love when an idea comes to fruition. Doesn't always happen that way. Jessi Pierce from NHL.com. Yeah, I got to stay out of this. We'll see you all tomorrow. Same station, same time.
Who has more fun than us?